Welcome to Divine Feminine Rising with Mez Delene. I'm Mez Delene, and my intention with this podcast is to entertain, educate, and illuminate as I share the power and magic of the Divine Feminine. Thank you so much for being here. I'm grateful for your time and attention. In this episode, I would like to talk about taking loving action. Remember that there are two main emotions, love and fear. The Divine Feminine is about love, and I believe that love is much more powerful than fear. There are always starving and homeless people, and there's always war. But if we all used love in our lives, these things wouldn't exist. Fear is what creates these things. The fear of not having enough, or the fear of people who are a different color or culture or religion than us. The list goes on. So I once overheard a woman explain socialism to a child. She said that socialism meant that some people worked hard and other people were lazy, and that the government would take the money from the hardworking people to give to the lazy people who didn't want to work hard. And that's what socialism was. This is definitely a fear-based mentality. The fear of someone taking what you have. The divinely feminine mentality, or love-based mentality, is that everyone deserves safety, food, shelter, and medical care. And we are willing to share what we have so that everyone is taken care of. In America, or I should say the United States, our system is completely based on money. Not on people, but on money. And because of that, dozens of countries have a lower maternal and infant mortality rate than the United States. Dozens. Infant mortality rate is how the healthcare system is measured globally. People with socialized medicine have a much lower infant mortality rate. People in countries with socialized medicine don't lose their homes because of medical bills. They don't have to go bankrupt because of medical bills. I had to go bankrupt at one point in my life because of medical bills. I know what I'm talking about. People in these socialized countries don't die because they can't afford insurance. They don't live on the street because they have a mental illness and can't get care. A love-based mentality is a mentality where we take care of each other. We look out for each other. We protect each other. And a fear-based mentality is me over you, us over them, right? It's very dividing. It's like the people with money are over here, the people without money are over here, and it's like us against them mentality, and it goes both directions. People without money are upset at people with money, and people with money are upset with people that don't have money because they're lazy or whatever, right? And they get welfare or whatever it is, instead of finding a way where we can all help each other and lift each other up so that we all have safety, shelter, food, and medical care. When it comes to anger, I believe that anger can be a great catalyst. There's nothing wrong with the emotion of anger. Nothing at all. It's just an emotion. So there's nothing wrong with that emotion. The problems occur when actions are taken based on that emotion of anger. Actions such as violence, actions such as domestic violence, cruelty. These are actions based on anger that are not good. The emotion itself is neutral. It's when we use that emotion to create harm that it becomes a problem. So there are people in the world who try to get their way by using anger, by threatening people, and so forth. And there are people in the world who use love to get their way. And that's like, if you give out love, you receive love back. It's not like manipulation. So an example of anger action versus love action would be when I lived in another county. They had a big animal shelter, and it was a wonderful place. They took in any animal. They didn't care if it was a snake or a chicken or a lizard or a dog or a horse, a cat. And these people that ran it, they worked hard, and they definitely came from the heart. They loved animals. They loved helping animals. They loved finding homes for animals. And whether or not they found a home, they did not euthanize. And so you can imagine how important it was for them to raise funds for their shelter. So they started this campaign, and the campaign was commercials on TV that showed tortured animals, little puppies that had been harmed, or I won't even describe some of the things. It was just horrible to look at, right? Well, it was traumatic. Nobody likes seeing that kind of stuff. And so they've switched the channel, and they aren't getting the actual message, please give us money so that we can take care of these poor tortured creatures. And so their campaign was not working, and someone came up with the brilliant brainstorm. Let's start using cute little puppies playing together and beautiful cats, and ask people to adopt these animals, say they're up for adoption, and to donate money to our facility, right? And the money started pouring in. People watched the whole commercial, right? They're seeing puppies playing, cute kitties. And so they're watching it, and they stay long enough to get the message, we need money. Help us take care of these animals. So that's an example of a negative action versus a positive one. This loving action where it was all about loving these animals instead of all about being angry that these animals were being harmed, reaped better results. They made a lot more money that way. So I have to say that I personally have hidden people from my Facebook feed who post a lot of photos of tortured animals. It hurts to look at these photos. It hurt to watch those commercials. So I know that it's happening, but I don't need to see photos of it happening or the results of these horrible things. And if people post cute puppies that need adoption, I'm much more likely to read the post and to receive the message that it's trying to get out. So that's a description of a difference between, getting people angry or upset and happy thing, right? Make a big difference. So it's putting love into action. So currently in the world, there's this great concern about the people of Gaza. And the word genocide is being used to describe the actions of Israel. And it actually is a very horrendous thing that's happening. And I don't get into politics and all of that, but I just have to say that when people are protesting and destroying food supplies that are going to starving people, I don't care who it is or where it's happening. That's not right. So when you see things like that on the news, it enrages you. It makes people angry. And anger, again, is an emotion. It's neutral. But use it as a catalyst to take some loving action. One of the things that I'm seeing on Facebook is people are demanding that we boycott large U.S. companies that are seen as supporting the war against Gaza. And I see a lot of fear-based angry posts about this. But the reality is, boycotts do bring limited awareness. They make a statement. But this is a short-term thing. If you research it, historically, boycotts have very rarely made any long-term changes or improvements. But there are other ways to help the people in Gaza. Boycotting isn't boots on the ground. It doesn't provide food for starving families. It doesn't provide medical supplies for the wounded. Boots on the ground does that. And by that, I mean taking action, not just using words to stir people up and to gain attention for what's going on, because the world knows what's going on. Taking action, using the anger about what's happening over there as a catalyst to create loving action. And so what do I mean by that? First of all, it's important to research what you can do to actually help the people who are suffering. I'll be scrolling through Facebook and I'll see these angry posts, and then I come across a post by a woman who is raising money for a family to get out of Gaza. She's made a connection with actual humans who are suffering in Gaza, and she's doing a fundraiser to help them get out of the country. This is taking loving action, and I'll give you some more examples of that later. So as I said, do something that will directly help people who are impacted. Don't just get mad. Take loving action and help. So the situation in Gaza is absolutely dire. It truly is. But there are also issues here in the United States that need our attention. For instance, the overturn of Roe versus Wade and over 90 restrictive abortion policies have now been enacted recently in the United States. And this has put some women with medical issues at risk of death. Women who are pregnant, who actually sometimes the baby is even not alive anymore, are not allowed to have an abortion. Women who are pregnant, who have a medical issue that the pregnancy will cause them to die, are not allowed to have a medical procedure to save their life. This is horrible. The cutbacks on mental health have filled our streets with mentally ill people who have no place else to go. They're wandering the streets. Where I live, I see them all the time. They're talking to the air. They're talking to things or people that they can see but no one else can see. They are barefoot in the winter. They don't have, a lot of them, they don't have a way to access medical care. And it's tragic. And these are two examples of crises right here in the United States. So the reality is that the list of need is endless. And we can't do all the things and be there for all the people, but we can make a difference with loving action. And what I suggest is that you focus on what what you feel passionate about. If you feel passionate about feeding starving children in Gaza, focus on that. If you feel passionate about women's rights, focus on that. If you feel passionate about helping with mental health care, take some loving action about that. And one of the things that you can do is arrange a fundraiser for something that you feel passionate about. So a fundraiser can take many forms. It can be posting on Facebook and asking for a GoFundMe thing to be supported. It can be actually creating an event where you charge admission. There's so many ways that you can directly help people. So for me, I've done several fundraisers, and I thought I'd tell you about some of the things that I've done and my friends have done. I had a belly dance friend whose sister was dying from polycystic liver and kidney disease. I'm pretty sure that's what it was called. And she did a belly dance event every year, a festival, and all the proceeds went to research for that disease. It was a disease that is not real common, and so research money goes to the common things, to the things that get a lot of attention, as we all know. And so she would raise money every year for that. She felt passionate about that. I have a friend in Washington. Her name is Kashani. And every year for many years, decades, she has had a fundraising event where she has workshops, belly dance workshops, and then she has a show and she charges admission for the ticket. She charges for the workshops, and any of the proceeds that she raises goes towards childhood cancer or Girl Scouts, or more recently, animals in memory of her son who passed away, who loved animals. And she also, at these events, she does raffles and she does silent auctions and asks people to donate for the silent auctions. And she's raised thousands and thousands of dollars. For me, I have raised money for a women's shelter with an event. I had an event which was a really fun event. Like you know, I'm a belly dancer. Well, my belly dance group hooked up with the hog group, which is Harley. I can't even remember what hog meant, but anyway, they were Harley Davidson motorcycle riders. And we created a fundraising event for a little boy who was in a wheelchair, and their family couldn't afford to get a wheelchair lift for their van. And so we put together a fundraiser. We belly danced and put on the show part of it, and we cooked this fabulous meal. And then the Harley people, they decorated and they helped advertise, and we made a lot of money. We made more than enough money to get that little boy a wheelchair lift. So another example is I have a friend who collects things for the homeless. And she'll send out a little message on Facebook or post on Facebook. If you have any of these items, let me know and I'll pick them up. And she checks to see what is needed. So like, for instance, during the winter, she'll collect gloves and socks and coats when possible, blankets, things like that. And any time of the year, she collects things like soap, toothbrushes, and food. And so she's directly helping. This is an action of love. This is definitely a loving action, that she is personally collecting items and taking it to the homeless in our town. She's making a difference. This is an example of boots on the ground. So talking on social media is great. It raises awareness, but the actual action, the boots on the ground, raising funds, is being loving and creating a loving action that makes a real difference. So in other words, walking our talk. We can talk about it all we want, but until we walk and actually take action, we're not making the impact that we could make. Talking raises awareness, walking brings in the funding and the food and things that people need. So if you are so inclined to take such loving action, just ask yourself what you can do. Maybe you belong to an organization that is looking for a charity that they want to support. Or maybe you are a Cub Scout leader or a Boy Scout or Girl Scout leader, and one of the things that they do is community service, and you could turn that community service into collecting cans to raise funds for the homeless, or actually collecting items that might be taken to the homeless. Or I know groups that have taken, they've gotten together and they've raised tons of food during natural disasters and raised money to help people. So there's just so many things that you can do. And you don't have to do it by yourself. You have friends, you have church or groups or whatever that you can ask to help, but you might be the spearhead, right? It might be your idea. You might be the one that says, let's do the thing, and then the people come together, and it's doing a good thing in the world, but it also will lift you up as a person and lift up the people that are involved in that. It's going to make you feel good about yourself and feel good that you were able to do this thing that directly helped people in crisis. Thank you for joining me today. My mission is to help bring back the balance of the divine feminine to spirituality. Please share my podcasts with anyone who might be interested in the divine feminine and personal empowerment. And if you'd like to connect with me further, feel free to reach out. You can find me at mezdelene.com, Divine Feminine Rising with mezdelene.com, Mez Delene Bliss, or Mez Delene on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And also please join my mailing list if you'd like to receive my newsletter. Allow the light of your love to shine. Be the change, lead the way, and always remember your light of love is a needed gift to the world that only you can give.